What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode here at the stable where we have a lot of work to do. So let's jump right into it. A lot of work to do because we have to turn all of these pieces into a working transmission. This assortment of gears, bearings, and synchros have to end up inside of this shell of a gearbox by the end of this video. A couple videos ago, we found out that both of the T5s that we had for the Mustang were broken. What the Hence why we're rebuilding, and holy crap did I find out how awesome you guys are. We had help from the Catman, Anthony Nadalin, Michael Sanchez, Kevin Campbell, as well as another YouTube channel. If you guys follow classic Mustang channels on YouTube, then you have to have heard of the channel Andy Cruz. Andy Cruz is a top dog in the online Mustang community. He has a huge catalog of how-tos, reviews, and installs on his channel, so I'd highly recommend you check him out. But he sent us this. This is a bearing and seal kit for the T5 transmission, which we will be using today. And among the many things that we need, a set of retaining ring pliers is a must, because the T5 uses some of these retaining rings that you cannot get off with some simple snap ring pliers. So I hit up our good friends over at Knipex and we got ourselves the best set of pliers that you can get. As you can see with the shape, they are not your standard snap ring pliers, and they make it real easy to grab onto these retaining rings and spread them open. And this is the part number. We also got ourselves a little oil can because every transmission video I've seen on YouTube has one of these, so we must need it. And of course, the most important thing, a good cup of coffee to keep us going. We're not scared, you are. All right, let's get rid of these nerves. This is my first time rebuilding a transmission, so you guys are gonna be learning alongside with me. But with that being said, let's stop yapping, let's get to work. So I think I wanna start off with the main shaft assembly. The main shaft is basically going to be the heart of the transmission. It will hold all of our gears and synchros. And also we already did a video identifying each one of these components, so if you would like to go check that out. So we're gonna start off with the slider assembly. Line up the key marks. So there's 3 different sets of keys that you will use, and the ones we're going to use for that 1-2 slider are these larger ones with the smaller dimple. These will go into these slots with the dimple facing towards the outside of the circle. And for the key installation, we're going to insert this tapered side into one of the keys, like so. And right here you can see what I mean by that retaining ring fits inside of that key, and the other end of that retaining ring goes completely over this last key. Now we do a good old flipperoni pepperoni, get the other side, and this other ring we're going to put it in the opposite orientation as the first ring. So the first one is sitting on the other side like this, so this one we're going to put it the other way. All right, that ring is in. You could kind of see how those keep this gear in place. And I'm also gonna put just a tiny bit of lubricant on that slider action. Don't know if it's necessary, but I doubt it will hurt. Next up is our synchros, but for some reason we have a couple of them. Like I said, this transmission was delivered to me as a box of parts, so we're gonna have some extra stuff. Somebody had also asked why we didn't buy new synchros, that it was just dumb for us to reuse the old ones. But the synchro material itself looks to be in very good condition, so I don't see why we wouldn't be able to use these. But if you're really upset about this synchro situation, go ahead and send us some. Oh yeah, that feels good. So these 3 notches on the synchro are going to line up exactly with the 3 keys that we installed. Just like that. Next, we're gonna install the collar along with its needle bearing. And there's 3 different needle bearings that this transmission uses, but luckily only one of them will fit on this collar, so you can't really mistake it there. Like I've already said, this is my first time rebuilding a manual transmission. So I've used a lot of YouTube sources to gather my information, including Eric the Car Guy, Andy Cruz, 505 speeds. Gonna lube up the needle bearings and slip it right on. Next is first gear, and as you can see we have little slots here, 4 of them on each corner. The synchro itself has 4 tabs, so we're just going to line those up That's it right there. You can see the little tabs right here from the synchro lined up with the slots on the gear. And also I'm using a old bearing retainer to prop up the shaft, because if not, it's just gonna keep on falling and we're gonna break more things than we're fixing. Next up, our main shaft bearing. This is gonna be the biggest bearing in the kit. It just slips on like that. We're gonna do 5th gear next. And this side with the numbers and the grooves is gonna go facing upwards away from 1st gear. And sometimes people could just slide it on. If not, we're gonna have to use the press. Nope. Without crushing the splines, we're gonna get the collar by itself. I think I could move this one click up. Oh, I should have done that. Oh, oops. Oh my God, I'm a mess. All right. Oh, come on. It's just too tall now. Look at this. This is so stupid. It's just barely too tall. Oh, okay, there we go. We made it. Yeah, it's going in like butter. Not even needing a ton of pressure. Oh, it kind of fell into place there. You can see what I mean here. It kind of got loose towards the end, but that leaves us just enough room for that retaining ring, which we can easily install with our new Knipex pliers. And that's in all the way around. All right, so because I was being curious, I have to do it all again. So I had noticed that one of the keys was popping out slightly too far, I thought, and I popped it off, and now I can't put them back in unless I undo everything we just did. Okay, I'm out of breath. 5th gear is out. That was probably the hardest part of this all. Oh, okay. Starting back at square one. Note to self, don't mess with the little keys once everything is assembled. Let's see if 5th gear will play nice this time. Ooh! Oh! See, this is why you don't mess around. That's 5th gear pinching me. But it's in now, and snap ring is also in. All right, back where we started. All right, so we've got this flipped upside down now. We're gonna oil up the next synchro, and yes, no longer using gloves. Ain't it funny that when you start a job, you start off with gloves and 15 minutes in, you're already taking them off because they ripped, hands are too sweaty, yada yada. And this one, same thing, is gonna line up with the keys that we had to reinstall. Next up, the thick thrust washer. There's another set of these, but only this one will fit in this slot. Next, we have this little washer that splits open. I believe it's called a spiral lock. 505 speed said to watch out for splinters on these as well. Have to work it all the way down. And spiral lock is finally in. All right, now we can install our 2nd gear. And if you guys remember from the previous video, we have 2 2nd gears, but if we look at these teeth up here, you'll see that one has significantly more wear than the other one. So we're gonna install this newer one. And same thing again, the gear itself has these little slots that will match up with these synchros. Just like so. The kit that Andy Cruz sent comes with 2 of these spacers. Like 505 speed says, the smaller one is for 3rd gear and the larger one is for 2nd gear. And this spacer is going to go inside of this groove right here. And we're gonna push it down using that needle bearing. I don't like the way it's so hard to put it in there. Okay, I kind of felt it lose tension a bit there, so I think we should be good. And we're gonna put the collar greens, and a new retaining ring. All right, that's in all the way. Next up, 3rd gear. sitting nice and flat. The other spacer that we previously mentioned, okay, at least that one fell all the way down. And the third gear needle bearing. Looking good. Okay, so here's a clear example of a good and bad synchro. You can see that this one is very much worn away. It doesn't have much definition to those grooves, as well as there's some chunks missing. The lines aren't as well defined as, say, something like this. And another good tell for a very used synchro is if I put that one that was very much worn away, you can see that there's no gap between the synchro itself and the teeth on third gear. So if I pop that off and grab a good synchro, you will see that even if it's all the way seated, there's a healthy little gap in there. So this is the one that we're gonna use. We're gonna give it a little bit of wheele, and we do have some viewers in France, so buongiorno. Oh, no, sorry, that's Italian. Bonjour. We lucked out, guys. I could only find one of the 3/4 slider retaining rings, and I was already gonna start crying because where the hell am I gonna find one of these locally? But there's one inside of here already. Yeah. All right, so we're gonna assemble this guy the same way we did the other slider with the keepers. So with the little keys we have left, we already used the long ones with the small dimples. Now we're gonna use the ones with these little winglets on them. So same thing. I'm gonna pop them into place and install one ring inside of one, just like that, and repeat it on the next side. All right. Now this guy is in. All right, we're getting somewhere now. So as you can see, this side is beveled a little bit more than this side. This is what's gonna be pointing upwards in the orientation that we have it right now, as well as this side has a hub which protrudes a little more. This is also going to be pointed up. Hopefully this one will just slide on there. We're also going to line the keys up with the synchro tabs. Okay, so it looks like it needs a little bit of assistance. How do I know when it's all the way down? Okay, cool, I think we've tapped it down enough. And I'm using our second T5 as an example. We can see our slider assembly right here, and you can just barely see those teeth peeking out, which is just about what we have going on here. And all these gears still spin pretty good, so I think we're looking good, guys. We're looking good. Alrighty, folks. So our main shaft is pretty much complete. I'm gonna be honest, this is the part that I was most intimidated of, but honestly, it was not that bad. It was actually pretty fun. But we're only halfway done here because we still have an empty case and all these parts to install. Okay, so I think I want to start off with the counter shaft. And thanks to our friend Anthony, we already have a good bearing and race on there. So we're just gonna pop this bad boy in there without causing too much havoc. Okay, let's try it laying down. Okay, what's going on here? All right, cool. That spins really nice. Now we gotta press this new bearing onto the counter shaft. Wow, this part's not gonna be fun. I could probably put it a little higher. This could go very bad or very good. All right, it is going in. I think we're about there. Oh yeah, for spacers, I used 2 old bearings stacked on top of each other. Alrighty, so once again, our bearing is now pressed in place. The counter shaft could not be removed now without removing that bearing, of course. Okay, so now we can install our retainer, and I'm going to use the same shims that were on there for our preload to see if it's roughly correct. If not, we'll adjust from there. Ooh, that's way too tight. Can't even spin that. So we're gonna reduce the amount of shims. So that's the measurement for the shims that came off of there. All right, so we went with the shim setup that was about 3 thousandths less than the original setup. That feels too tight as well. All right, so I can't get the right end play because I don't have the right spacers, and these aren't the peelable kind, so we're gonna salvage. And by salvage, I mean salvage from this other T5 that we have. Now that we've accidentally pretty much taken this one all the way apart, I found something pretty interesting. The end play on this one, you can hear how bad that is. There's supposed to be virtually no movement on this, and that could very much well be the fault of this retaining plate right here, because those are known to stretch under hard acceleration, whereas this V8 version already had an upgraded billet one, which is there to prevent that stretching of the plate and throwing off that end plate. All right, let's see what this one has in store for us. Just have one. We just have one spacer. All right, so we scavenged only one out of the other transmission. I thought it would have at least one thick one and one thin one. But let's hope this one works. Please be good. Please be good. All right. It's too tight again. No, I didn't even bother measuring it. Holy moly, guys. I spent nearly 2 days trying to get this preload correct. I had to scour a couple local transmission shops to see if they had any shims for me. And finally, we have the right amount of preload. There's no end play, and there's just a tiny bit of friction there that's gonna go away once those bearings set in, but I think that's good. Gonna give them a wee bit of Loctite. Man, I've already bugged all of my local transmission shops for those shims, as well as a inner needle bearing for the third gear. I'm sure they're tired of seeing me and of me calling. But honestly, local places are the best. Get to meet some cool people. And they also give you some tips and tricks to do whatever it is you're doing. Okay, we're gonna hit this with, people say 15, people say 20. I'm gonna say 18 foot-pounds. Let's check our end play. Freaking perfect. Alrighty, now it's time for the main event, or the main shaft rather. This would be real expensive if we dropped it. I think. Looks like it's all the way in, but we're gonna add our race on the main shaft so we could kind of keep it still. There we go. Next up, fifth gear. Yes, that's FIF. Okay, easy peasy. We're also gonna add this little fella. So we have our last synchronizer assembly right here, and this is going to get assembled the same way as the other two, and we only have one set of keys left, so I guess these are it. And like last time, we're going to put this hub surface alongside with this bigger taper on the synchronizer assembly. Alrighty, Aphrodite. That's it. And luckily the kit that Andy sent us comes with some new of these dog bones or slider, whatever you want to call it. These will do just fine. All right. Now let's slide this fork. Okay. That went in. Okay, so at the same time we're sliding the fork on, trying to align the hole. I'm just using this little pick to align it a little better. And I think that looks good right there. I'm gonna start driving our pin while supporting the shaft from the underside. Shoo! Well, see, this is what I get for messing around again. I was playing with the shift fork and now it popped out the synchronizer because I didn't put any of the retaining rings or anything on it before I started messing with it. So now, oh, now I gotta drive the pin out and start again. Alrighty, so the reverse fork is now in, the pin has been driven. I think I still need to push it a little bit, but the synchro is also in, and you can tell that the synchro is in the correct spot, lined up with those keys, because you can move it a little bit this way, a little bit that way, but it won't go past. So you know it's on the keys. And now time for what I know is gonna be the hardest part. Not because it's difficult, but because I have the world's crappiest snap ring pliers. No, I haven't gotten Knipex ones of these yet. I need to, but all of these tips are broken. So I'm gonna see if I could use, these are supposed to be the other way around. These are reverse ones, and I'm gonna use them the wrong way because it's all I have at the moment. And I do have safety glasses on, just in case this one tries to get me. So I have to, so I'm like spreading these open rather than the right way. I'm just, whatever. Wow, yes! I cannot believe that it went on that nicely. Holy moly. We're gonna remove the oil slinger from the previous counter shaft and reinstall it in the new one. And there she goes. This one goes on there with quite a bit of pressure, so I'm not gonna put our TV on it. All right, so on our nice new input shaft that Anthony sent us, we're gonna throw on the new bearings that Andy sent us. Sweet. Alrighty, new bearing on the input shaft, and to go along with that, Anthony didn't want us using the crappy aluminum bearing retainer, so look at this. He sent us a really nice steel one. And the reason people commonly upgrade to the steel one is that the aluminum will get marred up with the use of the throwout bearing and create some divots and scoring where this can get caught up, whereas the steel one isn't gonna wear out as easy and it'll stay shifting pretty nice. You guys are nasty. Speaking of the bearing retainer though, I've been having some issues. I've been struggling longer than I'd like to admit removing this race. This is what I'm talking about right here. The race is in here and I don't know why, but I can't take it out for the life of me. So of course, naturally, I got the bearing puller. And what do you know? The little jaws are too thick to go under the bearing. I think we can fix that. Well, would you look at that? It fits now. Look at the, oh my. It's not the same thread as my slide hammer. Here I was, excited to show you guys my genius solution, but why is it so stuck in there though? It's coming out. I haven't seen anybody struggle this much with one of these. I don't know why. I don't know. I'm prying between the shim and the bearing, so the retaining plate itself isn't getting touched. I give up. Ozzy, you give it a try. Okie dokie. Hey! Holy crap! Nice, must be those tamales he ate. I don't know what it was, but that thing was on there good. All right, now we're gonna load up all these little bearings into the input shaft. And to help us, I put quite a bit of very sticky assembly lube, just so the keys don't fall out. I've seen people say Vaseline also works really well when doing this. Nice. There we go. I don't know if our goop is strong enough for this to stick, but in goes the synchro, and of course aligning them with the little keys, like so. Little thrust washer here. Needle bearing retainer. And we're gonna throw the little needle bearing on here. And this is the tricky part right here, because if these little needles fall in there, not gonna be very happy. Luckily, I can see, okay, one of them's wanting to fall out, so I'm not gonna risk it. Oh, and while we're here, if you notice, there's a little cutout here on the input shaft, and that's how it goes in there. So it only goes in one way in order to clear this cluster gear. Let's get a bit of a bird's eye view here for you guys. Oh, yes, yes indeed. Right, I'm not gonna mess with it too much because I don't want anything popping out. I think we've learned our lesson already. Alrighty, so Ozzy was nice enough to happily clean some parts for us in order to continue with the clean slate. We're gonna add our little dog bones here. Click into place. Wow, this one broke just with the install. Well, I guess we're gonna follow a pattern here and use one of the old ones. All right, we're gonna just give one last check inside, make sure I didn't drop anything. I already dropped the bolt, but I fished it out, so hopefully there's not another one in there. I want to tell you guys that it looks good, but to be honest, I'm not too sure. I haven't I haven't done this before. It looks how we left it, but I think it's good. I think it's good. I don't even know if I have enough RTV to do this all the way. Now I'm wishing I would have bought one of those Cheese Whiz cans. Are we? I'm like just trying to squeeze the life out of it. All right, so now we're gonna throw the cover on. I think this way. Oh no, I touched it. Okay. And squish. Now we need to get our two locating bolts so they can properly line up that top plate. All right, let's go crazy with the rest of the bolts. Well, before we start on the tail housing, I went and got a new tube of RTV, but we're gonna go ahead and use what's left of this one. All right, we're gonna throw on the O-ring, the top cover. Gonna give it a little bit of this. Oops. Alrighty, so in the housing, we're gonna use some really thick grease so that our ball, this little ball right here, will stay in place if it's good. And while we're inserting the tail housing, we're gonna hold this spring onto the ball, and hopefully everything will stay in place because it's already 8 p.m. here and I'm getting grumpy. All right, woo, let's do this. Okay, I'm gonna stop right there. Woo! All right, so the tail housing is all the way in. Shifter ball moved tiny bit. And before all the RTV in there unsettles, throw a bolt in. So the spring and the shifter ball are right in there, and you have to get it aligned with the pin. Okay, we're in neutral right there. Now we're just gonna drive the pin in. Gonna dabble some grease all up in there. Doesn't hurt, as well as in our shifter cup. And it's also a corrosion protector. Alrighty, let's put the rest of the bolts in. Now we're gonna hit these with 45. We're gonna need a bigger bolt. Sometimes size does matter. We're gonna get some leverage. Don't tell my wife I said that. I can't. I've lost all my energy. I need another coffee. 45. There's one. Just need 17 more. Okay, we're at the home stretch here, guys. We just have one more thing to do, and it's something I'm dreading very much, because this guy, if you guys remember, I was struggling so damn much taking out the bearing from here, and for this step, we have to install it, check our end play, and if it's off, we have to remove the bearing, change the shim, and do it again and again and again. But I just don't know if the bearing is gonna come out once I put it back in. So as a starting point for our shims, we're gonna use 28 thousandths. Alrighty, shims are in the retainer. Hopefully this comes out when I put it in. I had it in the freezer for a little bit, and that doesn't even want to go in. Maybe it wasn't letting me because I hadn't added the seal yet. The bearing is in. We have 3 shims. Let's hope, let's hope this is it, because if it's not, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get that bearing out, and it's gonna be a real bad day. I'm gonna give it a light tap with the mallet. Seat the bearings. Okay, well, it doesn't move, so it's too tight. Some say that if we spin it, we can take it out. Holy crap. Ah, come on, it stopped halfway. Please, 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 just work. I think I got it. Okay, well, I realized I had a whole extra shim in there. I think I just grabbed it without noticing. Whoa, it just popped on. Nice. Okay, well, at least it's, I don't know what's happening anymore. These washers might be too big, but it's okay for what we're doing right now. We're just trying to find the correct end play. Honestly, I think I'm satisfied with that. That was about 24 thousandths. Holy moly. Well, considering we didn't disassemble this transmission, we received it as a box full of parts, I think we did pretty good. Oye, boss, you don't look at you. Is that a fully assembled main shaft for this transmission? Uh-huh. So you're telling me I could have saved 2 days worth of suffering? Wow. Gracias, Anthony. All jokes aside, huge thanks to Anthony for sending us a fully assembled main shaft. Yeah, we could have just thrown this guy in there and saved ourselves 2 days worth of figuring out how this stuff goes together, but I wanted to learn how to do it. If there's one thing about this channel is we're gonna do it. we're gonna do it. It may be done wrong, but we're gonna do it. So what are we gonna do with 2 full main shafts? Well, we could throw it into the T5 that we've been scavenging parts off of, but honestly, by the way I'm planning on driving the scrap stang, I think we might need that main shaft sooner or later. Oh man, well that one definitely beat me up a little more than usual, but we can now say we've rebuilt the transmission. Actually, we can't, because we don't know if I did it right until I bolted onto the scrap stang. And I guess that means that you're gonna have to subscribe to the channel to find out. But thank you to everybody who helped out with this transmission rebuild. With that being said, thank you all for watching. We'll see you on the next one.